Hey everybody, I'm Joe Masperi, and this is the Wilson, the VW Bus podcast. On this debut episode, I talk to you about who I am, why I'm making this podcast, and most importantly, who Wilson is. All this and more on this episode of Wilson, the VW Bus. Stay tuned. Welcome to Wilson, the VW Bus. I'm your host, Joe Masperi. I'm just a regular guy here in central New Jersey with a background in broadcasting and technology and a love for all things mechanical, automotive, and historical. Full disclosure, I'm making this podcast because I haven't created a podcast in over 17 years. It was the last time I made a podcast was back in 2006. So I thought this might be fun. And I also need to keep away from Facebook Marketplace, bring a trailer, eBay, etc. Because when left on my own during these cold winter months in New Jersey, I tend to purchase vehicles. I get, that seasonal depression in the winter that everybody does, and got to fill my time, got to find something to do. It's a little too cold outside, so I tend to look at purchasing something new, and I don't want to do that now. So we're going to go back and try some podcasting. Back in the 1970s, yes, I am that old, my mother had a bay window bus, although I can't remember exactly what year, and I don't have any photos of it, but I just have a fond memory of that. And, my sister and I have memories of cruising around during the gas crisis of the 70s and that, falling asleep in the back on the rubber floor mats and getting those little, ridges, those little ruffle lines, in your face when you fell asleep on the rubber floor mat. We even had the gas siphoned off while we were getting books to read at the public library. And I think they put that in the newspaper. I think I remember as a kid. But I've always liked the VW bus. And although I've owned dozens of classic cars, I've never owned a VW. I worked on a few in the 80s and 90s for my friends. There was a guy in high school who had a Super Beetle. It was all jacked up with big 50s in the back and a giant whale tail. And a friend of mine had a Maxi Taxi, which I think he's since sold that to his nephew, and he still has that. And I see him at cruise nights and car shows. And I helped him, I tuned it up and put some chrome on it. But I've never had a VW on my own. So back in the early spring of 2021, I began a serious inquiry into purchasing a VW bus. I had a few criteria. One, had to be a split window bus, so 67 and earlier. It's not that I didn't like the bay windows, but I really wanted the splitty. And Safari windows were a must. Two, I really wanted a walk-through bus. And three, a camper was preferred, but not mandatory. We had just celebrated the arrival of my first grandchild, and I thought that the VW bus would be the perfect classic vehicle for the whole family to get together and enjoy. And most of my previous cars were muscle cars or Corvettes and not really all that family friendly. So I started looking around, and the first candidate was a nice cool blue 64 Combi from South Dakota. It was repainted, but it looked like it was done with a brush or a roller and some house paint. It had some great patina, which is part of what I was looking for. I didn't want a fully restored bus with super shiny paint and, like a show winner. And I've gone through that with some of my other cars, like my 67 Camaro RS, which was beautiful, black on black, tuxedo black with a white stripe. But I digress. I don't want to get into that one. But this bus from South Dakota had some rust. It had a lot of rust, actually. It served as a church bus locally there until the seller acquired it, and it ran well. However, it was pretty far away in South Dakota, and I was kind of thinking about doing a road trip to bring it back, and that really wasn't going to work well for a South Dakota bus. It was also at the top of my budget, so we just couldn't seem to close the deal, so that one didn't work out. This was not going to be Wilson. My next bus that I really looked at was from Florida. And I found, I hit up the Samba, which is a website that all the classic VW classifieds and parts and lots of information on the Samba. I found a 67 VW bus, this time in sunny Florida, It had the look which I was looking for, with some patina, but no real rust. But it was missing the rear seat, and it had air ride suspension, which wasn't what I was really looking for. I've had some air ride on a couple of my vehicles, but I wasn't sure of the build quality of this. And the last one I had, someone else had put the air ride in, and had, if it's not done right, it has a tendency to leak. So my plan was to fly down to Florida with my mechanic pal, Carrie, who he'd never been on a plane before. So I was looking forward to that. We'd fly down together and then drive the bus home back to New Jersey. I even went so far as to get the deal almost set. I bought 2 airline tickets to fly us down to Florida and get the bus. But then the seller started acting really weird and was making some crazy demands. And when I asked him to send me a copy of the VIN so I could get the insurance ready, so that I could drive it home, he started accusing me of wanting to just be a picture collector. You just want to collect pics. Why don't you just come down here and give me cash and then just leave me alone? I was like, you're being a little odd. I said, look, this deal is done. All you need to do is just send me the VIN number so I can get my stuff ready on my end, so that I was able to drive it home legally. Fly down, drive it home. Then he started ghosting me for a few days. It got down to when the deal was supposed to take place, and he stopped returning all calls and texts altogether. So I had about 2 days left, and finally I was like, look, if you don't respond, you're going to blow this deal. I'm like, I sent him pictures of the money. This is what, I have the cash ready. You want me to come down? All this, the burden of responsibility was on me. So he blew the deal. At the end, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but that's the way it's going to be. I'm like, I'm not going to fly down there with, who knows? I mean, it could have been a stolen vehicle. I doubt it, but you don't know. I was asking for just a VIN number. So, it didn't work out. He got a little heated after the deal didn't work out, and I had to remind him that I still had 2 tickets to fly down to Florida, so if he kept running his mouth, we could take this someplace else. But luckily, we just let it die off, and that was it. So that was all in about April of 2021, and that's still no VW bus for me. So now it's May 2021. I'm working on my garage. I'm refurbishing the garage. I'm adding insulation and heat. I totally gutted all the walls down to the studs and rebuilt everything up. New insulation, some new heat, drywall, paint, got it all set. So I'm all ready for my project. And I get on the Samba again, and I see this ad for a bus for sale in New Jersey, of all places. And if you're not from New Jersey, you should know that, we're in the Northeast. It's, maybe not the Rust Belt, but things don't last here as long as they do in other parts of the country. So the ad says, for sale, 1967 panel camper walkthrough project. Original paint throughout. Comes with replacement sheet metal, including jack points, outriggers, front and rear cross members, inner rockers, quarter sections, floor pieces, flipped spindles, 4-inch narrowed beam, offset lowered spring plates, 67 long axle, new shocks, staggered with steelies with tires. Here's the kicker. A new bench run 1915cc motor with MP38 e-gas carb, tucked header muffler, new clutch, steering box has not been raised yet, but all new brakes, wheel bearings, seals, rear drums are new Safari windows installed, complete bumpers, running and driving, although most of the interior is out of it, to start cutting, fitting, and welding. A perfect candidate for blending. New Jersey title and all other documents present. I'm like, this is it. This knocks off my list. 67. It's already lowered. It's got a new engine, new clutch. It's got my Safari windows. It's a walkthrough, and it's a camper. I'm like, and in New Jersey? So I'm like, I'm excited. So this bus belongs to a guy named Dave at Swayze Mill Garage on Instagram. Dave owns a body shop in North Jersey and a bunch of cool air-cooled VWs. Super nice guy. I reach out, I contact him about the bus ad, And he says, sure, you want to buy the bay window or the split window? I'm like, you got two? And we discussed about, some of the pros and cons, the bays being a little bit bigger on the inside. I'm tall, I'm 6'4", so he's like, yeah, you can fit in the split window, but it might be a little bit more comfortable for the bay. And I know he's truthful in that, but I really want the split window. This one has everything I'm looking for. So he and I start texting, and he sends me pics of this pearl white German VW bus. And I make arrangements to run up there to see it in person on Sunday, which was Mother's Day, after I make my wife my famous homemade French toast with strawberries and homemade whipped cream. So I get that done. I run up. I said, look, I'm going to be back in 2 hours. She's like, that's fine. Good. So he's about an hour north of me in some beautiful farm country part of New Jersey, and I'm already jealous. It's just gorgeous up there. So I show up to his home, and I see this bus on the trailer out in front of the house, and this light blue Carmen Ghia, bunch of other really cool VW engines and stuff in the garage. I'm like, wow. This guy is definitely into his VW and his air-cooled stuff. I think he's got a Porsche there, too. He shows me all the parts that are going to be included for the metalwork and the rust repair, the floor braces, the outriggers, patch panels, etc. This is important because, remember, this is just coming off of the, 2020 pandemic. Parts are hard to get for anything, not just, a chip shortage. And this is back when, hey, you remember you couldn't get toilet paper? Try getting parts for a classic car. And it wasn't just VW. Everything was getting to be a nightmare to try to get parts for. And this guy had already acquired everything. Parts that he purchased new, parts that he got at swap meets over the years. He's selling the bus because he's got a whole bunch of stuff. Because of the pandemic, he laid off some of his staff, at the body shop. So he's not going to get this done at work. He's got way too many projects of his own. So I'm like, I'm the guy here, So he's got all of the floor braces and the outriggers, patch panels, and all the interior parts, which are going to come from 74 or 75, maybe, a Westphalia with the blue-green interior plaid. Real nice. So we grab the keys. She fires right up and sounds great. So I'm pretty sure this is the one. And as I walk around to the back, I find the original dealer sticker still on the bus from the dealer, Wilson of North Platte, Nebraska. And that's where we get Wilson from. So we agree to a price, and he says he'll even deliver it to me at no charge. So I'm like, sweet, deal. We got a deal. We got a handshake deal, and I'm on my way home. So unlike my last encounter with my bus seller, Dave is sending me videos and pics on my phone constantly. Every day I'm getting lots of stuff from Dave. So I am, of course, sending him back pics of cash. Hey, we got this ready for you in my house. As soon as you're ready, come on down, to keep him motivated in the transaction. So a few days later, though it seems like months, but it was probably just a week, Dave texted me and says he's on the way with the bus. So after 2 hours pass, I'm like, oh no, not again. Where's my guy? Where's my bus? But it turns out he just got a little lost on the way. I actually knew he was in my neighborhood because I got a text message from one of my colleagues at work who lives about a half mile away. And she says, I think your new bus just passed on a trailer by my house. So I knew he was getting close. So Dave finally arrives at my house, pulls up to the curb, and not 2 minutes goes by before some guy drives up and says, hey, is that bus for sale? I mean, I'm seconds away from handing Dave the cash. So I abruptly replied, no, beat it. So we laugh it off, but it could have easily been a bidding war right there in front of my house for this bus. So we signed the title, count the cash, start making a big pile of VW parts in my driveway, and I was officially a VW bus owner, and Wilson the bus was home. I put most of the interior pieces in my attic of the house for now. I know I'm not going to see them for quite some time. I've got a lot of cutting and fabricating and welding to do. So my son Zach helps me sort through all the parts. And I put Wilson in the garage for the night. And I've got some research that I need to do before I get started. And I've already started to come across a little bit of the history as I research about Wilson. So that's the first episode of Wilson the VW Bus. So what's in store for our future episodes? I plan on talking about the details of the repairs and the restoration that took place in order to get Wilson back on the road. Here's a spoiler for you. I was successful. Make sure to tune in again next time for updates on the progress of Wilson the VW bus. Thanks for listening.